Good morning, friends, and welcome to Wake Up in the Word. We are in Matthew chapter 22 today. Come and join us, and let's see what Jesus has to say today. I say that because when Jesus speaks, it rings down through history, doesn't it? His words continue to have as much weight today as they did the very day they were spoken, and often they're great and wonderful truths that we sometimes miss because we focus on one area of a story instead of another one. Well, we're in that time frame just before Jesus lays down his life for us, and the religious leaders of the day are doing their best to try to trick Jesus with funny questions so that he'll say something where they can entrap him and cause either the Romans or the Jews to turn against him. Well, we have that going on again today with a group called the Sadducees. And one of the key parts about the Sadducees is their belief in no resurrection at all. Oh, they're kind of like the atheists and agnostics of today. No, there's no resurrection, no afterlife. You're dead, you're done. And that's kind of the philosophy the Sadducees had. So, understanding that, they come to Jesus with an interesting trick question. And Jesus shares some words that we sometimes, again, focus just on the answer to the Sadducees and miss one of the most important statements in his answer. Now, watch this. That same day, some Sadducees who say there is no resurrection came up to Jesus and questioned him. Teacher, again, remember, they start with the word teacher. They just believe he's some kind of rabbi, some kind of teacher. They do not understand he is Lord. They've rejected him as Messiah. They're starting off on the wrong foot. Jesus is not going to bless the interaction because they don't acknowledge who he is. Teacher, Moses said, if a man dies having no children, his brother is to marry his wife and raise up offspring for his brother. Now, there were seven brothers among us. Now, I'm wondering why they picked seven. They could have done this question with just two, but they had to pick seven, okay? There were seven brothers among us. The first got married and died. Having no offspring, he left his wife to his brother. The same thing happened to the second also, and the third, and so on to all seven. Last of all, the woman died. Well, in the resurrection, then, whose wife will she be of the seven? For they all had married her. Who thinks up these questions? Really, this is what you're concerned with, guys? Well, the stupidity of the question is taken to heart by Jesus, who uses it as an opportunity to once again teach about something. Jesus answered them down in verse 29 by saying, you are mistaken because you don't know the scriptures or the power of God. For in the resurrection, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like the angels in heaven. You see, once immortal life occurs, there's no need for focusing on the necessity of reproduction because you know you're going to die. You got to replace the people that are here. There are many folks today who are saying, oh, this world is so terrible and I'm so concerned with Mother Earth. I'm not going to have any children. No, 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 no. That's bad for the planet. No more children. You know, all it takes is one generation to have that attitude, just one. We all disappear, don't we? Because no longer will we reproduce, or at least the people that have that attitude won't. The folks that don't have that attitude will continue to reproduce, and then you'll be gone and they'll be ruling things. Well, as we get to this question, as stupid as it sounds, Jesus is using this as an interesting opportunity to teach that, marriage is one of those things that's not necessary at the resurrection. Now, you may know who you are and celebrate the people that you've known and have those relationships, but you're not going to have a marriage or physical marriage relationship for the cause of reproduction. Now, that must have upset a guy named Joseph Smith, who founded the Mormons. And because he wanted to create a different kind of religion, a cult-like religion in which, number one, you could marry as many times as you want to in this life. He also had to create a different kind of afterlife. So, ladies, some of you maybe you've been caught up in that. You know the doctrine. You know that you're supposed to have children perpetually out into all eternity. That's your purpose. In fact, when it comes to the resurrection, some of you don't understand the Mormon belief is, and this is why the women all had to marry somebody. You don't come out of the grave by the voice of God. It's not Jesus. It's not the archangel, the trump of God. It's the voice of your husband that calls you out of the grave. Now, seriously, folks, that's a part of Mormon belief. Now, listen, Jesus is trying to say, you guys have it all wrong. It's not about being married over and over again, and it's certainly not about God somehow rewarding you, as the folks in Islam say, for taking on a jihad and going out and killing a bunch of infidels, that you will be somehow rewarded with a certain number of virgin brides that you will have all to yourself in the next life. Woohoo. All these things are uh, just spouting off about something that the people don't know or understand or grasp, to try to control people in this life to get them to do what they want to do. So Jesus said, no, it's not like that. It's going to be like the angels of heaven instead. But he goes on. Watch what he says in verse 31. Excuse me. He says, now concerning the resurrection of the dead, haven't you read what was spoken to you by God? I am the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living. Of course, when the crowds heard this, they were astonished at his teaching. I want to focus on that last statement for a minute, because Jesus, as he was speaking to that crowd, knew they were aware of other gods. And most all the religions and their mythologies and falseness had a God of the dead. That's right. If you go back and listen to certain names from a Roman standpoint, De Tacita, the Inferni, from the Greeks, Hades. Hades wasn't just a place, it was the name of a god over that place. Thanatos in Egypt, Anubis. For the Hindus, there was Yama. For the Norse folks, there was Freya and Hel, Hel, just one L, a female god of the dead. There was to the Chinese Ming Po, and to the Canaanites, right there was Moti. And in Africa, there was Adro. What do all these names have in common? These are all gods of the dead. They believed that there was some kind of hierarchy down there, and there had to be some kind of God in charge of the torture, the problem, everything that goes with being a part of the underworld, these gods of the underworld. Well, Jesus is giving us a truth here. The first truth is there's just one God, and he's God over all. That's life and death and everything in between. But there's something else you need to understand. The resurrection, my Sadducee friends, is absolutely true, because he's spoken of as the God of, in present tense, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as if they still exist. Why? Because they do. Yes, there will be a resurrection, and each one of these characters will receive, as their spirits are present with God right now, they will receive a brand new body at the resurrection to continue the plan and the purposes of God. So, yes, our God is not just a God of those who currently can worship him. He's the God of both the living and those you perceive that are dead. But the fact is, all are still living. God is the God of life. He's not a God of darkness. He's not the God who should be feared because everything is bad from him. He's the God of life, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So, friends, when you put your faith, you trust in Jesus, remember, it's not just that he's taking care of you right now in this physical life, but instead, this is a God who understands the whole concept of the life given by God, which surpasses the ages and the souls of all of those who have come to him by faith. It's a grand and glorious number that we all see coming together in the book of Revelation in one place, a number that John, no man could even number, holding palm branches in their hands, of course, another symbol of life as they worship before the throne of God. So, friends, it's good to trust in a God who's not just the God of today, he's the God of all eternity. That's what Jesus was teaching us in that one simple little sentence. Well, that's enough for today. Tomorrow, let's get into something really special as Jesus talks about what the most important commands of all are. In the meantime, you have a great day in the Lord. I trust that you've got things to do, places to go, people to see. Always praise Jesus and keep the gospel on your tongue and share the good news with everybody. I'll see you again right here on Wake Up in the Word.